start your own pod after that. I am sickened right now.
Let's talk about something else. Skin cells, Melissa.
Sick.
Skin
Even
cells.
worse. Gross.
Melissa has a weird pet peeve about like when she thinks or when people mention skin cells, like if people were in sheets and they're like, no, their skin cells are everywhere. She's like, she can't take it.
Disgusting.
Like the dust, like the like.
Just thinking about it, I'm feeling nauseated. It's more for like if I leave and Darren's home and I come home, and that part's gotten better. I'm okay with Darren's skin cells now. But like if like Jenna and Devin came to spend the night, I would only go on the side of the bed where Jenna laid, not where Devin laid, because of skin cells.
I don't blame her though. I don't even go on Devin's side of the bed. I'm like, I don't know what's happening
Yeah,
over
have
there.
you seen Devin sweat and get in a car? The man has
Night
no
sweats.
remorse. I mean, no remorse. The sweat is flying. The seat has actual imprints of like his sinews, and he's like, "It's fine."
Actually, we used to have a daily conversation, like if I would have cleaned everything and he would come back from the beach and
Mm.
I knew there was sand on his feet. And then he'd go to get into bed and I was like, you've already brought it in the house, but the least you can do is put your little feet together before you get in the bed and go just to shake it off. And he'd be like, it's fine. Almost a marriage ender if I wasn't in love with the man.
Oh man.
Isn't everything? Isn't everything almost a marriage ender if we weren't in love with the man?
What like did you listen to music a lot and then just feel like you could do it yourself, or was it like a challenge, or do you feel like it just comes naturally to write music?
I don't know. Uh, Definitely not really naturally. I would put it pretty hard for me as far as people who bother to write things at all. Like I spit out something like every 2 years, I would say is my average output. Am I allowed to be super pretentious and read a poem right now?
Oh yeah, we haven't had a lot of pretentiousness on the pod.
We're ready for the pretentious.
No. I was thinking about what this actually, like how this actually works.
Okay.
By the way, you need this book.
The
Okay.
Seashell Anthology of Great Poetry.
Right.
Okay.
It's the best poetry book. How poetry comes to me. It comes blundering over the boulders at night. It stays frightened outside the range of my campfire. I go to meet it at the edge of the light. That's it. It's over.
Perfect.
So, like, yeah, you just kind of get an idea and you don't necessarily even understand what it means. And probably it's just like a line that you thought was funny or clever or touching. And it's just like some words that you liked and builds off of it from there.
I forget if we've talked about this. Where did therapy play in? Like, did therapy coupled with that? Did therapy help, or was therapy something else?
No, I feel like they wanted me to do therapy because of finding out I had ADD later in life.
Mm.
Is that Jasmine? That's
Yeah.
what you had?
Yeah, same. They wanted me to start with therapy, but I didn't go with it.
Okay.
I wanted to, but I just didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of nerves or like it's awkward.
I feel like it'll be awkward because like they would want to know my whole entire life. I'm just like,
Yeah.
some of it you probably wouldn't understand.
So you're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that private, but I'll start taking the drugs.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Give
feel
me
like
the drugs.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I kind of agree with that too,
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main reason they wanted to do that is because they're like, there's so many ways that it affects your life that you have no idea that it's affecting it.
Yeah.
That when you find that out, it's kind of like, you're like, oh my God, my life has been, so this or that, that it's a lot to process maybe.
So
Yeah.
then with so what is this the case for you? I was listening to the Blocks podcast with Neil Brennan, and he had Trevor Noah on, and
Oh,
Trevor
okay.
Noah got diagnosed later in life with ADHD, and he said getting the diagnosis was almost as good as treating it, because it finally put into perspective what he'd been struggling with all those years.
Mm-hmm.
So is there like a peace of mind that just comes with knowing that you're not just off the wall, but you actually
Yeah.
have like something that's causing it?
Oh yeah. For me it does. It explains so much. Like, you know, when I have like those times of just being paralyzed, of just like not doing nothing, I'm like, why can I not get up
Mhm.
and go do laundry? Or why can I not go make a phone call? Like, I'm like, what? I don't understand it. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, when I got that, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
makes sense. Okay.
And then when I was 4, my dad had made like a homemade go-kart. And
Oh my
Art.
word. Okay, this sounds great.
so
So far, so good.
Yeah, I'm in.
would, just ride around on it in the yard and stuff. But my brother was driving and I was sitting behind him holding on. I had really long blonde hair, like almost down to my butt.
Dreamboat.
Got caught in the engine,
Knew it was going in this direction.
ripped my hair out.
Oh,
So it took like 3/4 of my hair.
are you kidding me?
Yeah. It just like,
Are you? No.
yeah.
Shut
I mean,
up.
that could have ripped your scalp right off.
Yeah. So I was really fortunate that it wasn't worse than it was.
Yeah.
You
So
could've
basically just
literally.
my hair out. I had like little spots of blood, I guess, on my scalp. But
Oh my.
other than that, I was okay. And I don't really remember the moment. I remember chaos.
Yeah.
I remember like I was screaming. My brother thought I was having fun. So just kept going. And then
He's like, what'd you say? Go faster?
everyone's running after us. My dad is freaking out. I don't think my mom was there.
Oh man.
But
That is
awful. Stop, had to pull the rest of my hair out. And then I remember going to the barber and like watching him shave the rest of my hair off. And I actually, this is a little creepy and I probably shouldn't say it, but whatever. I still have that hair.
Oh, I don't think it's creepy. We need a picture of it immediately.
Oh, I
Go
can just pull
get it.
show it to you.
We want to see the tough.
I want to see this hair immediately.
Really? That's not weird?
Why is it weird?
I mean, that's weird.
I
Is
mean,
it weird?
Okay, I'll go grab it.
go grab
But
it, and then we'll
I
edit.
feel like it's not that weird. It was traumatic, and you're like, this is my poor hair that was mine.
it's like one of those things that we have moved so many times and I'm like, why do I still have this hair?
But then you just kind of put it in your purse and walk away.
It's like Jake has his Wu-Tang box and you have your clod of hair.
Right. Everybody's got their blonde hair. Okay. Everybody's got a weird thing that they just bring from house to house and they don't know why they do it. I do think that's true.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a pretty key moment in a young child's life, though.
Yeah. And actually what I remember more from it is because then I had a bald head, everyone thought I had cancer. So then
Attention.
everywhere I went, it was like, oh, the poor little girl with the cancer. And they would like give me stickers.
Oh man.
Oh, so okay, so this actually you actually turned out to be quite the attention guru. I mean, you're just like, yeah.
But that
Yeah.
also,
You're
like,
like, I hate to say this, I don't have cancer. However,
I
my scalp was nearly ripped off
Yes.
of my head.
and
but
I
it-
do want that sucker.
but Chelsea was
Yeah.
the right
Yeah.
for that to happen to, because if that happened to like me, and I
Oh.
realized I could get attention,
Oh, you would have kept ripping your hair out.
it would have started this like horrible life course of like
Oh,
getting things for free by
Oh yeah,
he would have
You're-
started shaving his head 20 years
Yeah.
before
Oh,
he
yeah.
did.
right.
Where
Jake has a little bit of hair growing back and he's just like trying to rip it out by his own accord. His parents are like, why? Just why?
Once you see this, you are going to realize how weird this is.
No,
Okay.
I can already see it's in an
Definitely.
envelope. It's going to be a little tough to
It's in a
blonde.
newer envelope,
wow.
in an older envelope.
Okay, all right. You know, we're dabbling
It's
in
getting
the
weirder.
we're
It's getting
dabbling
weird.
in the odd at this point. We are dabbling.
That, holy cow.
Are you serious?
That's a lot of hair.
I
I've never seen a kid with that
am-
much hair.
This
Okay.
is not all my hair.
I haven't
This
seen
is
it in
like
a long time. This is a lot more than I remember.
I am devastated for you. I can
yeah.
Chelsea.
This was what was
Wow.
left over.
Little Chelsea's
This was
hair.
left over.
Oh man.
I feel so sad.
It
Mm.
was really long then, huh?
It was, and it was gorgeous. No wonder you kept it. That was probably your claim to like gorgeous little girl fame. Cue Beyonce, independent, I'm a legend. You know, cue it up. But that's what's happening.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry, that stinks.
It's been like honestly enjoyable. I feel like it's taught me a lot of things. Melissa's talked me through some just take a deep breath and chill out. Like there's nothing you can do. And me like sitting in the passenger seat and learning how to just like be like, okay, you got this, whatever. I know that there will be times I'm not going to be able to sit in the passenger seat, and I've already dealt with that before. But just like if there is help available, accepting it and not being stubborn about it.
Which I feel like that is something like anybody, not anybody, but I feel like, you know, if you've been in a situation for a long time or even like from a young time where you're like, okay, I got it. Like I'm gonna be going through this and I'm gonna take care of me type vibe, then it is something that you kind of like learn a little bit, you know? So I think that's why it's been so hard for you to be like, let me relinquish control and let me be like reliant on other people, even though they don't care, you know, like you're like, oh my God, it's like, but they don't care. Like other people, if they're your friend, they don't care about that. You know, it's okay to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna just Roomba my way into your life and I'm not leaving, you know, and they don't care. But it is interesting. It is interesting to hear like your perspective about it.
As far as what you do for your work now, what how did you like what do you do with that as far as helping other people with it?
Yeah, so I just loved it so much as far as the results that I got and just how you actually only test one time because our genes themselves don't change. We can change by lifestyle, their expression, but I was doing all this functional testing, you know, with all these doctors and paying so much money with all this stuff to have just a one test and never test again and have a blueprint that I can come back to for the rest of my life. So I loved it so much that I have added that service into my health coaching services. So I'm an aromatherapist, so I do all that with the essential oils and everything, which I love also, but this is really just like makes it all come together. So I offer where you can get your DNA tested, and then I go through this report with you. So it's 500 genes. And then depending on what your main goals are at first, I help you lifestyle wise, like what are we going to focus on first? And then a couple follow-up sessions too, because it's so much information, it can be overwhelming. And we don't want you like, I have to change my whole life at once. But you know, just kind of focus on what's going to be most beneficial for you according to your genes to start with. And then if you want to come back, once you've got a handle on that, then I can help you. And again, you're never testing again. We're just going back to that same report. So you get this beautiful printout with all the information and exactly what you should focus on. And then, yeah, that blueprint that you'll have forever back to. It's beneficial.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I had built this like pattern for myself where I was like, because I'm into health, so I'll read like a book or I'll read this doctor what he has to say and be like, that's it, we're doing this, everyone's going, we're going dairy free now, or we're going whatever it is. Like I've done that since I was trying to think back. It's been since I was like 12 years old is when I decided to be a vegetarian, just because I read something about how being vegetarian is good. And that's a long time to be in this pattern of like,
let me fix this,
like,
or
yeah, like there's always something wrong. I'm gonna hop on a trend, which I'm not like that with other things. So why would I be? Yeah, so it's just nice to kind of break that pattern.
All right. Hey, real quick, Oakley. You said that Interstellar was good but scary. What did you?
I would probably do it. What should I rate it? Actually, all of them were
Well, sometimes you're gonna like movies, but they're not gonna be like funny. They might be sad or they might be scary, but they're really good.
Scary, sad. What should I rate that? But it's not sad actually. What should I rate a scary movie that I liked?
What's a scary movie that we liked?
No. What should he rate a scary
Oh,
movie that
what
he
should-
likes? It's kind of up to you.
Yeah, so you might not like it the same way you liked a funny movie, but you might still like it, but it makes you feel different. Like
10. I would rate it 10
Okay.
then.
a 10.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we got some good reviews here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? We finished Interstellar in one night.
It's long, right? It's a long movie.
What?
It's a long movie, right?
3 hours. 3
Yeah.
hours and we finished it in one night.
I am impressed with your attention span, to be honest.
Chelsea's questions. What is
Okay.
good? What does good at-home care look like?
Mhm. All right, so you're gonna floss before you brush.
Okay,
Oh, God.
don't do
I don't
that.
know why. Huh?
Oh, God.
Okay, I'm 0 for 1.
Done with that. Now I'll try number 2.
Okay. Okay. Oh man. Okay.
Why do we floss?
Okay, so the teeth in between,
Yeah.
right? So you're missing a huge percentage of your mouth when you don't floss. Like it's like pooping and not wiping your butt.
Melissa.
Because your teeth are touching, even though there's like a little bit of space at the bottom where the gum is.
Yeah.
So your toothbrush isn't getting in this little space and in between where the teeth are touching. So listen, I'm not
Okay.
gonna say actually I just saw this quote. Somebody was like, listen, the best floss is the floss that you're gonna use. So whether it's actual mechanical flossing or if it's water flossing,
What about the pickers?
they're again, I tell people all the time, if it's gonna get you to floss, just do it. I don't care. Like
especially if somebody has trauma, it'll be like a half an hour. Like we're just building trust right now.
You're like, I should get paid more for this because we're going
I
through
really
shock.
should.
We're going through
I
shock.
really should. We're crying. We're living in
what's
the
the-
past.
Just so I can get a understanding, like what is the trauma, like what's the biggest, most common mistake that a stylist will make with people with curly hair that leads to trauma? Like they cut it too short because it springs up, or like they get it
Yeah.
wet, it calms down, you cut it and then it dries and then it like that.
Right. So the typical approach for a typical haircut is you wash it first and you pull everything down to the same length and you cut it. But if you are doing that on stretched out curly hair, everybody's curl has a different curl pattern in it. So you have one that's super tight and you have one that's a little more wavy next to each other. So you pull those down, you cut it. One's going to spring way up and the other one's going to, not spring as much. So then when it's dry, it looks super uneven. So we typically do a dry haircut on curly head so that the overall end vision is visually even instead of perfectly everything even, because it doesn't make sense to cut hair that way for curls.
That makes sense.
Right. It's
Mhm.
very interesting. The science behind
Yeah. Yeah. So then the trauma comes in from people approaching curly hair in the same fashion that they would straight hair, and then they're super uneven, or they have chopped so much length off that they're scared to get another haircut for years because it took them forever to grow that hair back out.
Gotcha.
Now,
Mhm.
have you had a traumatic incident yourself with someone cutting your hair to some-
Oh, so many. Not just one, multiple.
Do you think that made you be like, this is a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a problem for sure. I think I started going to cosmetology school when I was 15. And that was when I really learned how to take care of my own hair. So I spent that much time, the awkward teenage years, having a big fro, having, trying to straighten it and never actually getting it straight. So when I started going to cosmetology, I'm like, I'm going to learn how to actually do my hair and actually be able to provide a service for other people like me. So, yeah, it definitely took school for me to figure my own hair out and then to be able to spread the gospel of the curl.
How would you motivate someone who, like for me, the half marathon is like the thing. So I feel like I can show up for that, but I don't show up for the training part. Like I don't like, I know I'm gonna get through I know I'm gonna get through the half marathon.
Yes.
Like I know even if I don't run again, I'm gonna do it. So then it's really hard to get motivated. So I was doing like just one run a week to prepare, and I would do like,
I know, I heard. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's gonna get injured. I was worried.
so is it just the fear of getting hurt?
No, it's lots of layers. Okay, so one, everybody wants that feeling of race day, crossing the finish line and feeling super proud of yourself. And if you do cross that finish line, no matter what, no matter how you did it, you should feel proud. But I think the more work you put into it, like any goal in life, the more work you put into it, the bigger the reward, the greater the satisfaction. You know how much you sacrificed to get there. And that just compounds that feeling of like just awesomeness when you cross the finish line. Like I could, like at this point, I could go like run a marathon without much training. And yeah, it wouldn't be as much fun. I'd be fine. I probably could do it. But I know I wouldn't get the same amount of satisfaction and joy. So I'd say that's one reason. I think through training, I've learned through the years, like so much about myself personally and how I tick and how I work, and just time for like meditation and pondering and the time being outside in nature. And I feel like all the things I've learned have been through the training process. And I don't want to get injured. I'm getting older. So all those things.
Better. You should have known better that you were going to get a slap on the wrist with that one.
No, I knew.
We're all getting older.
I needed to hear it.
And I kind of just put my widow shoes on and I just went for a little.
I don't know. I just ran.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Priscilla's like, okay.
No, it's awesome. You did it. Like it is amazing. But
it just doesn't totally count.
No, it does count. No.
I know. I'm kidding.
No, I love that. I love that you
No, it's
said
good.
that though. Like that by the end, only you know what you sacrificed to get to that point.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and that's also something that you could like meditate on as far as like, what is my motivation to like do things, accomplish things, like, am I like for me personally, and me and Darren have talked about this a lot, when he was doing his training for the race you guys did, a lot of it was like like it might be late nights, or like Jake, even when he was doing his, it isn't super convenient. Like I need to go do this, and I also need to eat dinner. I also need to get to a meeting tonight. Like there are all of these other things, but you just make it work, whether it's convenient or not. And I do think the challenge mentally, you could not come out the other side of that and not have had something change in your brain. It's so much self-control of like, no, this is what I have to do, period. And I think nowadays, like over the last little bit, for sure, for me, I'm sure it's different with everyone, realizing like how much, not just self-control, but like self-discipline, are you lacking? Do you have it? What do we have? What are we working with here? For Darren, I think he has more self-discipline than maybe your average dude. I don't know. But I know that he continued to do it. He never stopped the training, even if he wasn't like super thrilled. Even if I wasn't super thrilled that it was 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, is he dead on the mountain being eaten by a bear? Well, your steak's cold. He still would continue. And I found that to be, very interesting, even as a bystander, as a watcher. You see people do that and you're like, okay, like what is making them tick? What is making them go back for more, if you want to say?
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, that point you brought out, that you have to find your own motivation, and what is it? What qualities? Lord knows I need to work on it for sure. I mean, like I know that about myself. Definitely.
Well, and I think it's kind of like the practice makes perfect. So, like, I'll tell you this, Jake, like my first marathon and training for that in some ways was the hardest because I had never bought out time for training before in my life. So it was adding a whole nother element that I never done. And it felt like it took so much coordinating and finagling of my schedule, you know? And then now that I've been doing this for a while, it just kind of like you just fit it in. Like you figure it out and you're like, oh, I can do this in between jobs or whatever. And I know that I like to do something in the fall a race because then I'm training in the summer and it's light till 9 o'clock at night. So I have like an extra 4 hours of daylight to train. You know, you kind of figure out your lifestyle and just you fit it in. And maybe sometimes it does then temporarily you have to whittle some things out. Maybe less TV watching, going to bed earlier, but you kind of get used to it and you just like fit it in. I don't know.
Like it's probably my number one.
Are you
so
kidding
like
me?
Lana was up there. Obviously, she was awesome, but this is probably like the best concert I've ever been to, and it's a special reason. So
Was she
yeah,
gonna cry?
I had to get
Are
ready.
you crying?
Are you-
No, I did. Okay, so we went to I don't know if you know the band Phosphorescent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do the song for Zula, and that was
Oh,
our wedding song. Now I don't know any other music by them really. I hadn't listened to them before, and neither had Severin, but we saw that they were coming to a venue near us, and we were like, it's a small venue that we like, let's go. And we don't know the opener, we don't know anything else. We didn't even listen to any of the other songs ahead of time. It was one of those things where we just like wanted to be surprised, like
yeah,
wanted to see what it was like. So we get to the show and like no one's there really early, so we were able to go just like right to the
Really?
front in the center. They had a super cool setup, really small. They had like 2 pianos on either side, where on the one side there was like a little Asian girl playing piano, like very dainty and small, and the other side was like this blonde guy, like metalhead, like whipping his hair around while he's playing piano.
Oh my
It was just
gosh.
wild. It was such a wild set that they played. Lots of different styles of music and stuff, so it was surprising the whole time.
Yeah.
And throughout the show, the lead singer would like come up to the front and like sing to various people, like hold their hand or like high five them, whatever, stuff like that. And it was just like, it was very small, like intimate, personal kind of show. So eventually they get to Song for Zula.
Oh,
And just by chance, the guy, while he's like starting the song a little bit, he comes up like to me and Sev, because we're like in the middle of the stage, like right in front of him. And he grabs Sev's hand and Sev pulls him and he's like, this was our wedding song. And the guy gets like teary-eyed and he was like, no way. So he starts singing the song to us.
Oh, that's pretty.
There's like
No.
a spotlight on us. And I'm weeping because I'm like, what? I didn't think this was gonna happen. What is going
Oh my
on?
gosh.
So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like that's sort
That
of
is
a
That's
rare
like
moment.
that's like an experience. That's like a special moment.
It was, I'll never forget
Yes.
it. It was crazy. And the like you said, Jake, it was just the whole night was perfect. Like
Yeah.
everything was fun. The venue was great. It was all fresh music that we never heard, but then it was topped off by the one that's so important to us. And he is
Oh
like
my
singing it to
gosh.
us. It was awesome.
That is a amazing story.
So I think that was probably my favorite
Oh.
concert.
That's awesome.
Qué romantico.
That's a good reason. Think about baseball. You could be a big guy, you can be strong, you could be fast, you could be Aaron Boone, but you still got to hit a baseball that's going 95 miles an hour. But here's
Yeah.
the breakdown of it. A pitcher can have 2 different deliveries that look exactly the same, but vary 20 miles an hour in speed and also in movement. And you have, I think it's like 0.3 a third of a second, 300ths of a second to figure out whether you're going to swing or not and whether it's going to even be a strike.
So
I remember you and Jeremy talking about that.
I would say it depends. It depends on the sport to me, because
Yeah.
if you're talking about something like playing quarterback in the NFL, Quarterback in the NFL to me is 70% mental, 30% physical. You have to be able to process information at such an insane rate, see it, anticipate, and make that decision. So it's more mental. If you're talking baseball, I'd say it's more 60% physical, because you can look at someone like Giancarlo Stanton, who is so powerful that he might see that at the last second. He might not process it as fast, but he can get there. Like he can make that hit. Or if you're talking about something like Formula One, just straight up their reactionary time, that's probably more
Mental.
I would say is reactionary time mental? I think it's more physical.
I think it's like hand-eye.
It's a reflex.
It's
Yeah.
hand-eye,
just a straight
but
reflex.
But that is
So
funny.
it's totally different.
yeah.
It's just they're all
Yeah.
totally different.
I've done construction my whole life since I was like 15, with odd jobs sprinkled in between. I worked at a snowboard shop. I worked at Target. I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. I worked
Sick.
Yeah, sick. I
This
worked.
guy has run the gamut.
I worked at Stevens Pass in a pizzeria with Jake. That was actually probably one of my favorite jobs of all time, because you're surrounded. I guess back then, like, my life was snowboarding. I mean, that's it.
Okay.
Jake and Travis, his cousin, and myself, like, that was snowboarding was life, and that's all I thought I would do forever. And then I got older and realized that's not realistic. You can't make any money doing that. So
Yeah.
but so I've done construction basically since I was 15, and then ended up getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Couple back surgeries.
Oh.
2 years hooked on pain pills, overdose, rehab. Then came back and kept doing construction. And but after rehab, because obviously I lost my job and I was out. I was probably out of just normal life after between overdose and rehab for probably 8 months ish. And then so after that, trying to like get back into any kind of a trade I didn't know what I was going to do. And then one of my really other close friends, Daniel McFall, he's a concrete contractor, and he's like, hey, why don't you just open your own company and I'll sub you out and you can just come work with me this summer. And he's like, and you could sub out to whoever. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. So again, back to snowboarding. In the Northwest, there was a company called that was my company, Casual Industries. And they made t-shirts, and it was all about local snowboarding stuff. And I lived in Woodinville at the time, and one of my neighbors worked for Casual Industries. And so we'd go have beers, and I'd get shirts here and there for free. And I had no idea what to call my company. I'm like, I'm going to call it Casual Construction. That's a good name. And so that's what I did. Never thinking in like, what was that? 12 years ago or 11, long time ago. I was like, never thinking like, oh man, I'll probably still be a business owner and still be doing construction. Like so far down. Like it was just throw a dart at the board, whatever. So I rocked that name for 10 years. Then I always hated it because I get the typical comments, oh, you just casually show up and casually do construction. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, it's a name. So then we moved. Well, in between that time, we had 2 kids. We moved. And it just didn't fit what I did for a living. And I was never proud of it. So I just started brainstorming, and I asked my wife, Christy, I was like, man, I want to change the name so bad. And she's like, that's so much work. Because she does all my back end stuff. Like she basically runs my company. Well, I have 2 people that run my company. Christy, back end, everything, and Jeff, my on-site guy that does everything. And then I just make sure we have work and get paid and deal with all the other crap. But she's like, yeah, that's just way too much work. So I kind of
like rebranding your whole thing.
Because you have to change your UBI, not everything. You got to redo your insurance, credit card, everything. You got to change everything. So finally I got her on board, and we changed it to squared up builds, and I can honestly say it was the best thing we could have done as a company, because since then it's like really taken off, and I think it's much more respectable, I would say. So
What do you feel like about changing the name, like caused that type of a shift? I mean, which I can get behind it if you're not amped about something, right? You don't, it has like a lackluster for you. You're not going to be excited about it. You feel like that changed for some reason?
100%. I was more excited about it because it meant more, like, my company's always meant something to me because it makes me a living, but the
Yeah.
name was just dumb, and I just didn't never liked it. Like I said, I never thought I'd be doing it for this long, so I was like, it was just a placeholder kind of.
Mhm.
And also it totally describes like, so my goal right now, there's a lot of work in the county that we live in, and most of it's very, very high-end vacation homes and resort communities, and people from where we grew up on the other side of the mountains that have their Microsoft, Google,
Mhm.
just a lot of money, and it's all their second homes
Right.
over here. So, which is cool because they're spending money on second homes because they can. It's not like they're bending over backward to build their first house. So I feel like the name, it describes what we do. And my goal now is, I mean, obviously I want to be busy year round, but my main focus right now with my company is to be the best, highest skilled carpenters in our county.
And then, let's see. Oh yeah, then my dad gets the idea, hey, we're taking this boat to California.
When he said that, were you like, sounds great, or I trust you implicitly, or were you like, whoa, Dad, let's cool it for a sec?
You got good questions. Yeah, your questions are coming from a different angle. I like that. No, it was okay. So I had already made one crossing. I with those three
Okay.
guys, the two guys that I mentioned earlier. So this was probably 99 now we're talking. My dad's like, "Hey, we're gonna take this boat across." My little sister was only 2 years old,
Oh
and
man.
there was some
I mean, my
family stuff.
nerves, I would be like a nervous wreck.
Yeah. And take it, and the boat, this boat was not, and these are the areas where I say I don't wish this on certain people, on a lot of people,
Okay.
is this boat was not seaworthy in certain ways yet.
Okay.
So she would leak, she would take on water and we would under sail, because wooden boats are, they just leak, they move, they flex, and it's a bunch of joined wood, it leaks. Do they expand and contract a lot? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
Okay.
only does that for a while. So like once, if she's dry, she'll, she's
Tight as a tick.
well, that's when it gets saturated. Then she becomes real tight.
Oh, okay,
Wells.
okay.
And then leaks that were there when you first dump it in the water actually close up. And
Okay.
yeah, but depending on how hard you're driving the boat, the top sides will actually start leaking because they don't see water a lot. So you'll start getting water through the planking, and until it, keeps getting wet, and then that'll too eventually kind of close up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you felt confident about it? No.
No.
To me, I feel, I mean, first of all, let's just discuss fear of the ocean in general.
Ooh.
Respect for the ocean, respect for big bodies of water. I can't think of something more terrifying. Like those videos they make. Jake, we talked about this on one podcast, like at the very beginning, like the videos you can't stop watching, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
scare you so bad. And mine are like those oil rig guys that are like way out in the ocean, and it's like, hey, oh, hey, and they're just going down under the water and back up, and I'm just sitting there just like riveted but terrified. I'm like, no. So as soon as if I were you, Lee, and I got on a boat and my dad is like, here we go, and one little crack and there's just a peep of a water, I'd be like, we're gone. We're goners. I would be a wreck. I think I would start playing that in my mind, that song. Like I just would be like, take me now, river mermaid lifestyle. Here I go. So you were scared, but
I was because I knew the boat's condition. I had already experienced some boat building, and I knew how she was structurally, and I wasn't okay with that, especially with all my siblings and my
Oh
mom,
man.
And this is what I'm talking about. Like, my dad put us into some hairy situations.
Okay, yeah.
In fact, the story gets better because we end up going to California, but we turn around and come back.
Oh,
yeah. So
the boat is not okay. So continue on.
yeah.
Like how far do you get?
Okay, good question. Yeah, we get out about 6 days.
Oh, so you're
We get
out.
Yeah, we're 6 days out, and there wasn't a lot of wind, and we had an engine on it. It had a what is it, a 4236 Perkins diesel in it, and it would burn oil, it would consume oils, but there wasn't much wind. Like that, those 6 days, there wasn't a lot of wind. So we're like, man, we're burning a lot of fuel. On top of that, we're burning oil. So we're like, this could get bad, and my dad at that point, he even as crazy as he was, he's like having a kind of not a good feeling about this trip. So he was, and we were pretty young too. A lot of us were young. I was, like I said, I was 16 or so at the time, 17 maybe at the time. But he wasn't getting a lot of help with, night shifts and stuff. So he was getting really tired and he was getting cranky, and I think like he's like, nah, this ain't gonna work. I can't do this.
Because how many more days did you have after 6 days? Like you had to have at least another 6 days.
Oh yeah, we were like not even, because there wasn't a lot of wind. We were just
You're not even a quarter there.
Oh, not even, no.
Oh wow. Okay.
And
So
it's
far
funny
enough.
because you were like at this weird age in from what I would imagine, where you know enough to be like, yikes, but like you're still willing to participate. Whereas the younger kids are probably like, hooray, what a life we live. And you're like, we're going down. We got to get out of here.
Well, you'd already done it at that point, besides too. So
Okay.
you've already done it before, besides, so you know how far it is, you know how it's going, and you probably know it's not
Yikes.
going well.
Now, what is your mom doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
my
would maybe
mom,
shoot the little SOS at some point, like I love you, my sweetie pie, but
my mom is a very durable, resilient woman. Looking back in hindsight, you don't know these things when you're a kid, right? Because you're only
Yeah.
seeing them from kids' eyes. But I don't know anybody that has put up or dealt with what my mother has. I don't know anybody, not even close.
no, I
Not even
mean,
close.
to have 6 children
Mhm.
on a boat, one is a 2-year-old, right? So we're talking she's still getting used to this baby.
Oh, she's nursing.
Yeah, like this thing is fresh.
Mhm.
It's as fresh as the catch of the day. And here you all are headed to California. Your mom is incredible. We need to get her on the pod right away.
I'll tell you what, she'd be
down.
I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, she if you ever wanted to know a mother's perspective on,
She should probably write a memoir. Okay, so Zach was the top on your list. Who was your number 5?
Sturgill.
Oh my goodness. It's not even going down. It's staying good the whole time.
Yeah, Sturgill's 5, Turnstile's 4, because we are the unofficial Turnstile podcast.
Right.
Coldplay. Coldplay made the top 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judging that a little bit.
You what?
I feel like I'm judging that a little bit. I mean, it's fine. Coldplay's nice.
Okay, let me tell you why they're on the top 3 though. I have a playlist called first 2 albums. So I've never heard any other Coldplay except for those first 2 albums.
Those are good.
And
And then I just put that on like shuffle. So I literally have only really ever listened to the first 2 Coldplay albums, but I listen to them all the time.
Okay.
It's on rotation.
Hence-
It's on heavy rotation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Charlie Crockett's too. So pretty
See.
country.
Pretty kind
Meredith was like, Jake's so proud of his rap list, like he's not even gonna be embarrassed. And you're like, so anyways, guys, my list, all tens.
all tens.
All tens.
Yep.
Okay, well, Meredith is all
Mine is like
instrumental.
bad. It's so bad.
Well, I wasn't surprised by one
Yeah. Taylor
because
Swift.
I've seen you on Instagram with Nika, and I feel like that just rubs off.
No. We both love her as
Equally.
individuals. And then we just gravitate towards each other. Like you're
Right.
like, oh, I think you might like Taylor. So
Yeah, fast forward now to 2021. And I have another good friend in Florida who is also adopted. And she was in the middle of a deep dive, like doing Ancestry, doing 23andMe. And she had just been talking about it a lot. And I felt like, you know, I kind of just want to know for sure that I'm Scottish. I would like proof.
Back
But
to the
maybe-
Scottish roots.
Maybe one day I can make a claim to some Highland area or something.
Absolutely.
So, ironically, I got a Father's Day deal on an ancestry test.
Are
And
you?
So I get my little ancestry test, do my DNA swab, put it in the mail, send it back. Now, in the meantime, it takes a couple weeks. So Jake and Chelsea, Elise, we're all deeply invested in this. We're all talking about
Yeah.
it. And they know that I have this information that I haven't proven yet. I just think I know who it is. So
Yeah.
on Ancestry, once you make an account, it wants you to start populating your family tree. So I just use this
Oh.
information that I have uncovered and start
From the
populating my
granddad's obituary.
start
Well, you-
populating my family tree.
You had done it like private, right? Like you didn't want it to be shown.
I thought I had done it on private. Yes.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain there's a box somewhere that I checked that said this is just my information. And my tree, your tree is private. So
Oh, okay.
I thought everything was private. So now I'm blissfully populating my little tree. And once you start putting information, it just keeps sending you more because now it's like linking you with anyone else that's who has the same information.
Is it linked like when you put your blood in and then it gets back to you? Does it populate your profile? Or are the two connected? Like, how did it go from you putting in your personal information to getting to where they knew the?
So there's a time in between when you're waiting to get the results back.
Oh, that's
and
right.
You,
Sorry.
You can just manually put the tree.
Okay, so that's where you're at right now. You're just putting
Yes.
manually your family.
Yes. And so now I'm noticing a pattern that there's another user that's consistently posting about a lot of the same people that I am. And so I'm
Someone else
tracing this.
searching.
Yeah. So I click on this user and I start looking more at her profile and I kind of figure out her name and then I cross check the obituary and the name matches as one of the sisters. This would be my biological dad's sister. So my biological
Your aunt.
My aunt. Yeah. So I have this information. I'm like, okay, so Jake, Chelsea, and Elise, if my DNA comes back and this woman is in it at all, confirmation.
Done.
Like we have our proof. So on a Tuesday, I think, at work, I get my results. And I'm at work. I'm like, well, I'm not going to work right now. So I pop open my results.
Where did you work? Sorry, I'm setting the scene.
Actually, this is perfect because it so happens I work in a law office as a paralegal.
But right downtown Warwick, like at
You're
the train
joking.
station, like a cool little like the old train station. She works up in the
Okay, so you are
offices.
literally like in a
downtown
rom-com.
Warwick.
You're
Yeah.
in a rom-com basically.
She's in a rom-com. She like if a rom-com wrote a story about
Yep.
working class Jessica in
Jessica
her
Colley.
little loft train
Yeah.
station part like office, like that's where she works.
I'm just trying to find my dad.
There is a rom-com right now that's weirdly
It's like your
the new
story.
Harry Connick Jr. rom-com.
Oh, I'm not shocked about
It's a
that.
bit of a spoiler alert, but anyways,
Okay.
it felt too real.
So there you are.
So there I
in
am
the,
in my law office.
in your law office.
Open my results, and I'm 37% Scottish. So
Good
hey,
numbers.
I'm over the moon,
Damn.
right? So as a footnote, this woman comes back as my top DNA match. 24% DNA match.
Okay.
We're calling
Okay.
we're calling her Aunt Cheryl. She is in fact Aunt Cheryl. But so
We're calling her by her
We're gonna
name.
call her Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Her name is Cheryl.
Her name is Cheryl. But we've been calling her Aunt Cheryl for a while, even before I knew for sure.
Okay. Okay.
So I come home that day. I don't even think I texted you guys. I think I just
You just came home. Yeah.
So Elise was on the phone with Jeff. They were dating. I don't remember where Jake was at this point, but Chelsea was in the kitchen.
I think I was in the bedroom or something, or I
Okay.
just got home from work or something.
So I
So
came
just a little bit. So upstairs is where the girls were.
Okay.
We were in a bedroom right by the front door, but we all just kind of mingled in the kitchen area.
Okay. And this
Oh.
is the part about the stairs that I'm like on pins and needles.
Okay. So I come home, Chelsea's in the kitchen, and I'm like, Chelsea, guess what? Great news. I'm Scottish. And then she's like, Polly, that's great. Like, what about the DNA? And at this point, I just go into full denial. And I think I was like, yeah, she was my top DNA match. Isn't that crazy? And Chelsea just kind of like took me and was like, Polly, that's a
Where
big deal.
is your dad?
That means you found your dad.
And Altadena is pretty, it's not like people see the Palisades in Malibu, which is very like high end. But like from a lot of what I've heard, Altadena is a very like working class town. It's like where a lot of like people, maybe like grips and lighting guys that make like production type people, or it's more the working class, like people that are around the industries but aren't, like super rich, well-to-do people. It's like more of a working class town. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's super diverse. There are a lot of people who work in the industry. There's a lot of musicians and artists and people like that live in those areas. A lot of multi-generational families too, and like people who have been there for years. Is one of the first areas that was available to Black homeowners. Because there was a time when there was a lot of discrimination with real estate, and it was one of the only neighborhoods that people of color were able to purchase in. So there was a lot of like racial and ethnic diversity there too. So it was just so cool. Talking about it right now actually makes me want to cry. Like literally, I just think about it because we have so many friends who wanted to live there. Like the homes were gorgeous. I mean, this sounds really superficial to cry about the homes, but the homes were so beautiful.
Yeah.
There are so many gorgeous like houses. It was really like woodsy and just full of character. And there's a lot of businesses there that small mom and pop businesses, restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's I can't
It was a
imagine.
really cool neighborhood. I would have loved to have lived there at some point, or we have friends that live there too. So
So for the last 9 months, I've been chasing, no joke, 20 different issues that I was having. And I have them listed down in my little notebook. I couldn't keep my balance anymore. One of my toes was like bright red all the time. My back was numb. My eye hurt.
A random list.
And I was going to the doctor.
I love that you're like, oh, you were going to the doctor.
Oh man,
yeah.
I
So many doctors.
Jake's
so many
assuming that you would do what he would do, which is just write a list of insanity
and
and
then-
never see a doctor.
And then I'd go in because my face is numb, and they're like, "Are you feeling anything else?" And I'm like, "No. I mean, my back is numb, and my pinky toes
My
are red,
pinky
and
toe fell off.
and I can't
last-
stand straight up." And
My wife carries me like a baby in her arms.
But you know what? And just to like be serious for a second
Yes.
too. Another part of Lyme that people don't talk about is the depression part and
yeah.
the anxiety part. So there is a whole mental health aspect to Lyme disease that I feel like really does need to have a spotlight shined on it.
especially in this area. If somebody's really struggling with mental health stuff,
oh man,
it could potentially be Lyme.
Yeah, get checked for Lyme. But even if you do get checked for Lyme, there's a good chance that you could be positive and never show as positive. So it's just one of those things where you just have to be alert.
Yeah.
And then just kind of, if you're chasing symptoms like Paul is, where you're feeling fine one day, terrible the next, you're having pain one day, you're fine the next, and it kind of moves around. That's really indicative of Lyme.
Okay.
So even if you don't have a positive blood test to tell you that it's Lyme, that could be pointing you in the right direction. So
yeah,
because they do say that it is one of the harder things. Even the doctor doesn't like to necessarily be like, you have Lyme's. Yeah, you're right. They're like, no, we want to talk about all these other different things.
Yep.
Right? And you have to go somewhere special to like where they believe that it's a thing almost.
Yeah.
That was a scary thing that we heard about that.
Yeah, I would still be chasing it had my not had facial palsy.
Yeah.
Okay, so they would have maybe said a million other things, but that thing specifically, they were like, hold on.
Yeah. It's like something's really wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So the way that we saw an ILAD doctor, so ILAD, he specializes in Lyme disease and he's in New Jersey.
Oh,
So this ILAD doctor says, he explains it similar to how chickenpox acts in your body, where initially you have chickenpox, right? It's unmistakable. You have this rash, but now you have a virus that lives in your body and it can present at any time and it can present multiple times throughout your life, depending. But when it does present, it will never, ever look like chickenpox again. It will look like something different, shingles or rash or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Lyme can be like that, where it's not going to look the same as your initial infection. And so that makes it even harder to really
find out
what it is. Yeah.
And I know
you really have to be like, well, you either have to have a Sarah in your life, or you really have to have an advocate. You have to be your own advocate of like, this is not okay. I do not feel normal. Here's everything happening.
100%.
Here's a list of what's been happening and I'm not okay. Instead of just being like, oh, okay, I have a flu. No, there's something really wrong.
Yep.
Mentally too. I'm depressed. I'm having anxiety through the roof, whatever, like you were saying. But really don't give up on it. You're saying really find someone. Okay.
Yeah. You're not
that's good to
older.
know.
Yeah. I thought I was getting older and I was like, 'cause everything was achy.
You are.
Yeah. Yeah. You're over 50.
Can you believe the way he's acting?
I love it.
He's really being the man that you said, though. You're like in true man fashion, Jake. And you're
Low,
just like,
low hanging fruit. I had to take it.
No, thanks for asking, Jake. And if anybody wants to know my journey with Lyme, like I'll put out my number or whatever, or if somebody thinks they may have it, because like you said, Melissa, you can go in and get tested for it and it'll come back negative because you're not testing the right, for the right spirochetes. And and thank goodness I had the facial palsy.
Okay.
Because I
would
would
kind of shot you straight to the answer.
Yeah.
Whereas some people might be dealing with it, like you're saying, the way that you were, which is
10
like
to 15 years.
Annoying things for years on years.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really nice thing for you to do to help other people, because I can't imagine dealing with that for all that time and having no one say, oh, I think this is what it is. Let's talk about it. You would feel very isolated.
Yeah. And now it's been 6 months and I'm still chasing. I would say that 90% of the Lyme is gone. Like the facial palsy is gone. The inflammation's gone, but I'm still.
Well, that's not true. You just had a rash last night.
I'm still chasing really bad stuff. Really bad. My face will puff, my face will puff up like really bad.
And this is also why the Alka thing, I think, is such a huge, thank goodness you can do that now. Because you can't be in that environment. You can't be
do it.
Not sleeping and doing all the things, and then on top of it dealing with this. No way. No way.
No way.
No way. So it's been good. Alka's been just super fun. Lyme it's taught me a lot of empathy for people that have been sick for more than a
Mhm.
month,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's something.
Chronic illness is no joke.
I mean, Jake, I don't think you've been sick for more than what, a week, Jake, maybe 2 in your life, and you probably get super annoyed after like 3 days, like
Right.
I did, and be like, "This sucks,"
Mhm.
and then you get better, and you're like, "I'm better."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, when you hear of somebody that's chronic, I was just kind of like, that's.
Like maybe they're okay.
Are you really that sick? Right.
But living in it, you see what it really means.
Yeah.
Right.
You brought up sobriety earlier with us. Like, where did that play into the tragedies, or was it before that? Was it
just before? Yeah. I think Sarah, and she noticed stuff over the years. It's just like how I handled stress. That's really when, you know, troubles were coming up for me, and then what I did to handle the stress. So once Magnus came along, the stress was starting to build, and then COVID hit. And during COVID, I was a heavy drinker for sure before that, but I would kind of keep myself in check every now and again. And, take a step back, maybe take a month off, that sort of stuff. But when I would go off the handle, it would just be, I would black out. I would just black out or brown out. That was happening quite a bit. So throughout the years, the brothers in the hall have been great help. We were in a sign language hall, and they really helped me one time. I went to them. They suggested great measures and like how many drinks to have a week, and that just didn't last. But I didn't go back to my old ways probably for a good few years, and then once the pandemic hit, it was like, I don't know, it was for my mental health and the addiction, it was like a big wake up call, like, oh, there's a big problem here.
Yeah.
I would be at work already having a few drinks in me, and I would find myself like just crying on the ground, and I would be like, why am I crying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I'm crying. And I would figure out why I was stressed, and it was money, and it was the relationship issues with the family members, and me and Sarah not getting along. And just, I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't going to somebody. I was telling everybody it was fine.
Right.
You know, I was just thinking we'll sort it. I was just a bit of a tough period. And then I just talked to a good friend, February 14th, 2021. And he just said, Tom, you need to stop. Now, Sarah told me
Like the
that I need to
answer
stop.
is no.
The
He's like, your
answer is
answer
no.
is no.
Yeah, I woke up in my truck one night, and I didn't remember how I got where I was. I remembered before that I was driving like erratically. I was driving over 100 miles per hour on these roads in the vineyard, and I had just too much.
Yeah.
And I came to in my truck out of gas. And for some reason, I called an elder. I called an elder. He came down, picked me up. He didn't think anything. He just picked me up. He's like, you ran out of gas, no worries. Dropped me home, figured it out, got gas in the truck, went home. I just told another buddy that story. And that was it. He's like, Thomas, you need to stop now. And I did, and I haven't went back to it. It's been 4 years.
Wow.
And but it really was just the start of me taking charge of the mental health. And then eventually I got into AA, into a good group in that, got therapy. And then from there, it's been a journey with therapists. And then now with psychiatrists, I've got a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I take medication for that. And this past winter has been the best winter in the last 4 years for me. I unfortunately, like, my brain was just going to, I didn't want to live anymore. And I was Sarah really wanted me to get help and stop because of those reasons. I was always, when I would get too upset, that would be my go-to thing I could throw out there. Like I'm feeling this way. This is what I want to do. I don't want to be too dramatic, but I was constantly threatening that myself mentally. I was torturing myself with those thoughts. And it was like all stuff coming up from my youth, being bullied, and a couple of traumatic things that happened. It was just overwhelming, and I wasn't getting any help. So once I got it and I started talking about it, I saw the path. But I knew it was going to be a long path to like figuring out what's up, with me. And but this past winter has been the best one.
Wow.